the first signing that I ever did was Scott Askham.
How did you hear of Scott? What was the first time you
It
heard of
were at the gym. I went, I visited the gym, and he was, he was there, and the coach at the time, a guy called Neil Wayne, who again I think he was. I went to see the UFC in Birmingham. When it came to Birmingham, my wife Gillian had bought me some tickets, so me and Gillian went down, and they announced a fighter from Doncaster, which is where I'm from, and it was Neil Wayne fighting Shane Carwin. And again back in the day, and I met Scott through Neil, and that's where I also met like Marc Diakiese and some of the other guys who have again become really good friends as well as clients, as they say. And so yeah, the first signing was Scott. Second signing
was Scott managed before you?
No,
you were dealing with him,
it was again. It was very back in the day. It was quite 6-7 years ago. It was still quite. People were
just figuring out by themselves.
Yeah, they were kind of working it out. The coach were kind of managing as well, and that's how it tended to work. So again, like I say, we signed Scott. I remember signing. We met him and his dad outside the pub in Doncaster, and I pushed the contract over, and his dad says, "Well, before he signs that, what are you going to do? What are you going to do for him?" And I said, "I'm going to get into UFC, aren't I?" And his dad said, "Well, fucking sign that, Scott." So we signed it, and as I was driving away, I thought, "What the fuck am I going to do now?" But listen, we went on this journey, and we got to the UFC, and Scott then went on to become a KSW world champion, beating Mamed Khalidov, and it's been a phenomenal journey. There's, unfortunately, last couple of years with COVID and through a bit of injury, Scott's on the recovery now, and he's got some enormous fights in KSW to kind of get boxed off over the next 12-18 months. And same with Marc. Marc, I met Marc Diakiese. We signed him as an amateur. Marc. Again, we got Marc to the UFC. Marc's still in the UFC now. I think Marc as an athlete, the evolution.
He's really putting it all together now, isn't he?
Yeah, it's been some journey from him landing in the UK as a 12-year-old lad from Congo, not being able to speak English, to see him walk out at T-Mobile Arena in Vegas, after what's been a journey like this, But again, look at him at the evolution of him as an athlete now. I believe he's at a point in his career now where he's genuinely putting it all together. He's focusing on what he needs to do and the areas he needs to work on. And he's probably got the biggest fight of his career coming up in December against Michael Johnson. So again,
has that been officially announced?
Yeah, I've seen it out there. No, I've seen it. I've seen it out there. So
I saw that he was calling for.
I don't know who leaked it.
No,
I don't know who's leaked it. It was definitely out there. So yeah, look, and that's just an example of two guys that we took from, just two guys from Doncaster who had a vision, had a dream, and they wanted to be successful in the sport. And
if you look at Marc as well, like his track record of the guys he's fought, Fiziev, Hooker,
definitely.
And now Michael Johnson, like top of the food chain.
Yeah, and again, it's from Marc, I'll use Marc as an example. He weren't beat as an amateur. He went on a hell of a run as a professional before he took his first loss. But again, there's a saying that it's not who's in your dressing room when you're winning; it's who's in your dressing room after you've lost. And I think there's never a truer word. But again, like I say, look, they're just two athletes. We've managed quite a few guys for a hell of a long time, and some real great guys like Sir Robert Whiteford, Robert Scotland from Scotland, Lee Chadwick, Jack Grant. Yannick, Bahati, Stano, Joris Jurisic. These are all guys who were, look at Chaddy. Well, he's ever been knocked out in I don't know how many fights he's had now, and now he's just had a great performance in PFL a few weeks ago in Cardiff. Yeah, you look at Rob Whiteford. I think when Rob got cut from UFC, I thought it was too early. I still thought he had a lot more to offer, but again,
the fight game's harsh.
When you kind of invested into these guys' journeys and you get to know them as an athlete, you're spending time with them. It's I don't know. It's a privilege to be kind of part of that journey, the ups and the highs and the lows.
What piqued your interest in fighters specifically? Obviously, like you said, you've managed other types of people before in other
Yeah.
businesses. What was it specifically in fighters that kind of piqued your interest?
I think I think they're a unique breed of individual. I really do. I think some guys come from troubled backgrounds. You know, some guys, I say guys and girls, obviously, yeah. I think when we're looking at an athlete, more so now than ever, I think we try and look at for an angle. What makes that athlete unique. And listen, that's not with everybody. Some guys are, some athletes are quite introvert. Some kind of have that X factor, and it's something it's something you can build on. But again, when we try to look for a little bit of a story to tell about the athlete now, and I think that's quite key with people who we look to sign. And again, sometimes it's not till you get to know that athlete that you think, wow, great. There's a certain angle we can look at for potential sponsorship. There's a certain angle that might just might trigger a hell of a lot of interest that that can drive that following as well. So it's about looking at everything, but again, more than anything, the amount of talent that's coming through now.
Especially in the UK.
Rewind to when we first started. I think you could get away with being strong in maybe one or two disciplines. I think now more than any, as a mixed martial artist, you've got to be a complete mixed martial artist to not only to get there. Getting there's the easy part, staying there's the hard part. And again, it's as an athlete understanding that you have got to continue to evolve, because if you're not moving forward in this game, people are catching you up and overtaking
Quickly
you.
as well.
Yeah,
It's a Shark Tank,
definitely.
literally.
Yeah,
Like I was watching the Joe Rogan Kamaru Usman podcast last night, and like you said, they were saying how the evolution of it started. You had it was a striker would try and battle it out against a grappler and see who would be the
yeah,
best out of the two. Then it was okay, maybe
yeah,
put them two together, maybe someone with two, like for example, someone with wrestling and striking that could do both.
yeah.
It's a bit more dangerous. Now the whole evolution, like you said, you've got to be on it in every single aspect.
100%.
Otherwise, you're going
Yeah.
to get caught out.
Yeah, definitely. And I've got a couple of examples of athletes who I've worked with for a long time now, and I think are really on the cusp of doing great things. One of them is a young lad from Nelson, Lancashire, called Shaib Youssef. Looked after Shaib since, well, it seems like an eternity now. But we first sent him to Vegas under the what is now EMMA, under the UK MMAF. And I remember his dad. His dad pulled me at the trials. He said he's gonna, if he gets through this, he's gonna bring that gold medal back. And his dad will film him, because his dad's got like an archive of all this footage, which when you go and
It's going to be gold.
visit him, it's unbelievable. Every trophy, every medal he's ever won. And anyway, he came back with gold medal, and again, the plan was back then, look, where do you want to be? And he says, I want to be in the UFC. So fast forward, again, we've had that up and down. We've had some losses that we didn't expect. We've had some great wins. But one of the things that I've always identified, and Shaib's got some unbelievable support around him, not only his family, but his friends, his community as well. And I think we're maybe maybe two fights away from Shaib potentially being the first UK-based Pakistani athlete to fight in the UFC. I genuinely think he's that good, and I genuinely think we'll get him through the door when the time's right. Now, for me, that's enormous, because the amount of support that would garner for Shaib, not only that, realizing when we sat
His
down
full potential,
in
living his dream.
2016, when whenever it was back in the day, and again going on not that journey again, but that journey, the highs and the lows. I think it'd be a phenomenal story, and I think, like I say, the groundswell and support for him would be absolutely unbelievable. And look, that's the plan. You got to have a plan in this game. If and you've got to have an end goal, and the end goal from day one has been get Shaib in the UFC, and I do believe we'll be doing that in 2023. Definitely.
How big do you think that will be for the Pakistani community?
Wow, I think I'm not just talking UK wise. I think globally. I think Shaib were potentially fighting in Pakistan this year. So he's got an unbelievable amount of support.
Well, I can
in
imagine for Pakistan MMA,
Yeah.
that's huge. Like for the growth of the sport in that country.
Yeah. And so look, I think come the time, don't get me wrong. Listen, we don't overlook any. We don't look past further than the next fight. Which is going to be announced pretty quickly. Pretty soon. So he's definitely going to be fighting before the end of the year. And then look, hopefully 2023 is the year when we look back and say, right, we're in. Over to you now, brother. Go and go and make it happen. And then look, the flip side of that is looked after a girl called Dakota Ditcheva now for a number of years. From amateur athlete up until now, I believe on the verge of
Superstardom.
Yeah, and again, when people talk about icons and idols and legends and that, I think it's very flippant these days I think it's used very loosely and too often. I genuinely think that if we can keep Dakota fit and healthy, yeah, I think over the next 5-10 years, she can be one of the top couple of exports out of UK MMA, to ever do this.
I completely agree. I think her story, her background, her mom was a very successful Thai boxer, fighting family. All of her brothers are up and coming Thai boxers too, up and coming fighters. And, for the level she's at, for the age she's at, and the experience she's got and the skill set she's got, just had a very impressive debut on PFL. I think it's only a matter of time before she's a serious contender within, obviously, PFL and then within the UFC.
And I think, again, just touching on what you said there, look, there were a big decision on which route do we take, and like I say, look, just rewinding again and talking about the family, look, what a mother achieved back in the day, it was phenomenal, and that family unit and that support, is unbelievable. How the family operate, the support Dakota gets. Yeah, now the fact that she's an American top team athlete, I think she's going over there. I think the Florida lifestyle absolutely suits her down to a T. She's training with the very best female athletes in the world. I think it's been a real eye opener for her too, because again, I'm sure she won't mind me saying this. Look, confidence when you're rolling with guys, it's different to rolling with girls, and I think for her to get out there, and without naming names, she's been sparring with certain people, and she's more than held her own, and I think it's been like a huge confidence boost.